At my parents' 30th anniversary dinner, my dad tapped his glass, and the entire banquet hall went silent. He raised a glass of expensive scotch and pointed directly at my brother, Tyler, to the only person in this family who actually understands what it means to hustle. My dad announced, beaming with pride. Tyler paid for this entire evening. The catering, the venue, everything. That is how you honor your parents. The room erupted in applause. My aunts, my uncles, even the neighbors were clapping. Tyler sat at the head of the table, leaning back in his chair, spinning the key fob to a brand new Tesla Model Y on the white tablecloth. I stood in the back, holding a glass of lukewarm water. I didn't clap. I just looked down at the notification on my phone screen. It was from yesterday. Transfer approved. $5,000. Recipient: Tyler. Memo: emergency rent or I get evicted. I looked at the Tesla key. Then, I looked at the $5,000 catering spread. I realized in that second, I hadn't just paid his rent. I had sponsored my own humiliation. Before I tell you what I did next, drop a comment and let me know what time is it where you are right now. I want to see who's awake with me. I didn't make a scene. Disruptions are inefficient, and I certainly wasn't going to throw my water glass at the wall for dramatic effect. Drama is for people who think their feelings still matter to the audience. I already knew my role in this production had been cut. I set my glass down on a waiter's tray and turned my back on the applause. I walked out the double doors, past the coat check, and onto the stone patio. The silence out there was sharp. Inside, the noise was warm and golden, fueled by expensive wine and the comfort of lies. Outside, the air smelled like rain and exhaust fumes. It smelled like reality. I leaned against the rough brick of the banquet hall and pulled my phone back out. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I expected the adrenaline to make me tremble, but my fingers were steady. Anger wasn't loud this time. It was clinical. It was quiet. Face ID unlocked my banking app in a second, revealing the numbers that had defined my life for the last 2 years. I navigated to the recurring transfers tab. There it was. Scheduled for the first of the month. $3,600. Labeled Tyler Rent Assistance. For years, I told myself that money was love. I told myself it was safety. But looking at that gray button on the screen, the data told a different story. This wasn't love. It was a subscription fee. I had been paying a monthly premium for a brother who didn't exist. I tapped cancel. A warning box popped up. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment? I didn't hesitate. Transfer canceled. I felt a physical weight lift off my chest, like a tight metal band snapping open. But I wasn't done. Cancellation is private. Disrespect this public requires a public response. I opened the camera roll. I selected the screenshot I had just taken, the one showing the transfer of $5,000 sent yesterday with the memo emergency rent. Then, I snapped a photo of the banquet hall invoice I had swiped from the coordinator's table on my way out. It listed the total cost for the evening, $4,850, paid in full via debit card ending in 4190. Tyler's card, the one funded by my transfer. I opened the family group chat. It was currently muted, probably filled with photos of Dad making his speech. I selected both images. The transfer, the receipt. I typed a single caption. The sponsor has left the building. Sent. I didn't wait to see the read receipts. I slipped my phone into my pocket and walked to the parking lot. My 6-year-old Honda Civic was parked in the back, sitting in the dark, far away from the valet line where Tyler's shiny new Tesla was staged for maximum admiration. I got in, started the engine, and backed out. As I shifted into drive, my phone buzzed in the cup holder. Then it buzzed again, and again. A steady, angry vibration against the plastic. I didn't look at it. I didn't answer. I just turned up the radio and drove toward the highway. I drove past the exit for the airport on my way home. I always look away when I pass that sign. It stings too much. But tonight, I forced myself to stare at the little airplane icon until it blurred in the dark. People will say I reacted too harshly. My dad will tell the neighbors I was jealous. My mom will say I should have waited until morning. But none of them have seen the ledger. They don't know the math. This wasn't about a $5,000 party. That was just the spark. The fuel had been piling up for 2 years. I work in logistics. My life is built on efficiency, supply chains, and profit margins. But when it came to Tyler, I had been running a deficit that would bankrupt a small country, $3,600 a month. That was the rent for his one-bedroom apartment in the trendy part of the tech district. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a concierge, a rooftop gym he never used. Meanwhile, I live in a converted studio 40 minutes from the city. My view is a brick wall and a dumpster that gets emptied at 4 o'clock in the morning. I drive a 6-year-old Honda Civic that rattles when I hit 60. Tyler leases a Tesla because, as he put it, image is currency. I believed him. I believed that he was building something, that he just needed runway. I told myself I was the silent partner in his future success, but looking back at the miles flying under my tires, I realized I wasn't a partner. I was a host. I opened the glove box at a red light. Buried under a stack of napkins and tire gauge was a folded, faded brochure. Summer in Tuscany. This is where the vow broke. Last year, I had finally saved enough to go. I had the Airbnb bookmarked. I had the flight selected. It was the one thing I wanted for myself 2 weeks, where I wasn't a manager, wasn't a daughter, wasn't a bank. Just Megan, eating pasta and looking at old ruins. 3 days before I was going to book the ticket, Tyler called. It wasn't a request. It was a crisis. He was facing liquidity issues. The landlord was threatening eviction. He swore it was a bridge loan. He swore he was closing a massive consulting deal on Friday. "I just need you to cover me this once, Megs," he had said, his voice cracking perfectly. "Don't let me lose everything when I'm this close." I looked at the brochure on my desk. I looked at my savings account. I didn't go to Italy. I sent the wire transfer. Tyler kept his apartment. The massive deal never closed. And I spent my 2 weeks of vacation sitting in my apartment, staring at that brick wall, eating instant noodles to build my savings back up. That night in the car, touching the edges of that brochure, the sadness finally evaporated. It was replaced by a cold, hard accounting. I hadn't saved him from eviction. I had robbed myself of my own life to subsidize his fantasy. I had set myself on fire just to keep him warm, and he hadn't even thanked me for the heat. He just complained about the smoke. The ledger was closed, and I wasn't opening it again for anyone. My phone started ringing at 8 o'clock the next morning. It was my dad. I let it ring 3 times before picking up. I took a sip of black coffee, set the mug down on a coaster, and swiped answer. I put it on speaker. "Megan," he said. "No, hello. No, how are you?" Just his voice, tight with a specific kind of anger, the kind reserved for people who point out stains on a white carpet. "Do you have any idea what you did last night? Your mother has been crying all morning. I assume she's crying because her son stole $5,000 from her daughter to buy her a party," I said. My voice was flat. "He didn't steal anything," Dad barked. "He borrowed it." Tyler explained everything. "His assets are tied up in liquidity pools right now. He was going to pay you back double next week, but instead of supporting him, you had to make a scene. You had to let your petty jealousy ruin the moment." I almost laughed. "Petty jealousy. Dad," I said. "He bought a Tesla while I'm driving a car that might not pass inspection next month. That's not jealousy. That's math. It's about image. Megan. You have to spend money to make money. Tyler is building an empire. He needs to look the part. You don't understand how high-level business works." While he was lecturing me, a text popped up from Tyler. "You don't understand leverage. I had a strategy for that capital. You just panicked the market. Thanks for nothing." I looked at the text. Leverage. Capital. Market. Words he learned from TikTok, used to justify theft. "Put Mom on the phone," I said. "She's too upset to talk to you." "Put her on, Dad." There was a rustling sound, and then I heard my mom's breathing. It was shaky. "Megan," she whispered. Why? Why couldn't you just wait? Mom, listen to me, I said, leaning forward over my kitchen counter. We need to stop. We aren't helping him. We're crippling him. We're his family, she sobbed. We support each other. No, I said. We don't support him. We enable a fantasy. It's called the shadow competence trap. I read about it. When you treat someone like they're succeeding when they're failing, you rob them of the ability to actually learn. We've spent 5 years clapping for a toddler who's stumbling around, telling him he's an Olympic sprinter. Silence on the other end. He is 26 years old, Mom. He isn't building an empire. He is unemployed and living off his sister. Every time you cheer for his fake trophies, you aren't being his cheerleader. You're being his anchor. You are holding him underwater and telling him the view is great. That is enough. Dad's voice came back, booming. If you are going to be this negative, then maybe you don't need to be part of this family right now. Tyler needs believers, not accountants. You're right, I said. He doesn't need an accountant. He needs a reality check. And since you won't give it to him, I will. Don't you dare, Dad warned. You fix this, Megan. You apologize to your brother, or don't bother coming to Thanksgiving? I think I'll be busy Thanksgiving, I said. I hung up. The emotional part of this was over. They wanted to play business tycoon? Fine. I opened my laptop. It was time to treat this like a business. I closed the kitchen door. I sat down at the table. I cracked my knuckles. For the last 24 hours, I had been operating as a sister, hurt, angry, betrayed. That version of me was useless. She was the one who had been scammed. I took a deep breath and exhaled the sister. In her place, the logistics manager clocked in. In my job, when a vendor fails to deliver, we don't cry about it. We audit them. We check the contracts. We calculate the losses, and then we terminate. I treated Tyler exactly like what he was, a non-performing vendor with a long history of missed deliverables. I logged into my bank portal. I went back 5 years. I didn't just look for the big transfers, like the rent or the car down payment. I looked for the leaks. The $50 here for groceries, the $200 there for gas, the business loans that were never repaid. The download bar filled across the screen. Next came a fresh spreadsheet. I started typing. Date, amount, memo, promise of repayment. The printer started humming. It was the only sound in the apartment. Sheet after sheet slid out, warm and sharp. Venmo history, $12,400. Direct wire transfers, $86,000. Credit card authorized user charges, $24,500. Co-signed personal loan defaulted payments covered by me, $22,100. I stacked the papers. I grabbed a yellow highlighter and started marking every single line item where he had texted me a promise to pay it back. Bro, I swear, once this coin pumps, you get double. Megs, seriously, it's a loan. I'm good for it. Just cover me until Friday. Hundreds of Fridays had passed. The money never moved in the other direction. I punched the sum formula into the spreadsheet. The number appeared in bold black text at the bottom. $145,000. I stared at it. That wasn't just a car. That was a house. That was a retirement fund. That was my life, liquidated and poured into a black hole named Tyler. I didn't feel sick anymore. I felt powerful. Numbers don't lie. They don't gaslight you. They just exist. I opened my email client. I didn't draft a text. I drafted a formal demand letter. 2. Tyler. CC. David. Susan. Subject. Notice of outstanding debt and demand for repayment. I didn't use emotional language. No, I can't believe you. No, I'm disappointed. I wrote, attached is a comprehensive audit of funds transferred between 2019 and present. The total outstanding principal is $145,000. You have 30 days to propose a binding repayment schedule. Failure to respond will result in immediate civil litigation to recover these assets. I attached the spreadsheet and the PDF of the receipts. Then, I picked up my phone. I went to Tyler's contact. Block. I went to Dad's contact. Block. I went to Mom's contact. Block. I added a final line to the email. Effective immediately. All personal communication channels are closed. Any future correspondence regarding this matter must be directed to this email address or my legal counsel. I hit send. The whoosh sound of the email leaving my outbox was the most satisfying sound I had ever heard. They wanted me to treat Tyler like a businessman? Fine. Business has begun. The email silence lasted exactly 48 hours. Then, an email arrived from Tyler. Subject. The body of the email was classic Tyler. No capitalization, no punctuation, pure arrogance. Lol, okay Meg. Chill out. My assets are in a cold wallet RN. Soon as the lockup period ends, I can pay you back the whole thing plus interest. Stop freaking out over pocket change. Pocket change. $145,000. I stared at the phrase cold wallet. Tyler had been talking about his crypto investments for years. He claimed he was on a platform called VaultX, an exclusive exchange for high net worth individuals. He'd shown us screenshots of his portfolio balance, always climbing, always green. I forwarded his email to Marcus. Marcus was an old college friend who worked in forensic accounting, specifically dealing with digital fraud. Hey Marcus, I typed. Can you verify if VaultX has a lockup period right now? My brother claims his funds are stuck. Marcus called me 10 minutes later. Megan, he said, his voice serious. VaultX doesn't have a lockup period. Okay, I said, relieved. So he's just lying about the timing. No, Megan, you don't understand. VaultX doesn't exist. I stopped typing. What? It's not an exchange, Marcus explained. It's a simulation app. You can download it on the App Store. It's a game. It lets you simulate trading with fake money to practice. The screenshots he showed you? That's play money. It's not real. The room seemed to tilt sideways. So the money, I whispered. The real money I sent him. It didn't go into crypto, Marcus said. I ran a quick background check on him. Megan, do you know he has an active account on 3 different online sports betting sites? The nausea hit me hard and fast. He hadn't been investing. He hadn't been building an empire. He had been gambling. He had taken my rent money, my savings, my life, and thrown it away on parlays and point spreads. There's one more thing, Marcus said, his voice dropping lower. I checked your credit report while I was in there, just to be safe. There was a hard inquiry last month. From Tesla Financial Services. I know, I said. He leased a car. Megan, the inquiry was on your social security number. The application was rejected because of a mismatched address, but someone tried to co-sign that lease using your identity. I dropped the phone. It hit the desk with a crack. It wasn't just mooching. It wasn't just irresponsibility. My brother had tried to steal my identity. The sadness I had been holding on to, the little sliver of hope that maybe he was just misguided, died right there on the floor. This wasn't a family dispute anymore. This was a crime scene, and I was the only witness who had refused to testify until now. I picked up the phone. I didn't call Marcus back. I opened a new tab on my browser. File a police report. Identity theft. The sister in me was gone. The victim was gone. The only thing left was the prosecutor. 3 weeks passed. The silence from my family wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like the air before a tornado touches down. Then, at 2 o'clock in the morning on a rainy Tuesday, the storm broke. Someone was pounding on my door. Not knocking, pounding. I checked the peephole. A figure in a dark hoodie stood under the porch light, soaked to the bone. He looked smaller than I remembered. I unlocked the deadbolt but kept the chain on. I opened the door 2 inches. It was Tyler. He looked terrible. His eyes were sunk deep into dark circles. He hadn't shaved in days. The arrogance, the Crypto King smirk was wiped clean off his face. He was shivering. Meg, he croaked. His voice was raw. Please, let me in. Where's the Tesla? I asked through the crack. He flinched. Repossessed. Where's your apartment? Locks changed this morning, he whispered. I have nowhere to go. My friends. Nobody answered. You're the only one. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Dad. I knew exactly what he was going to say. He's learned his lesson. Just help him this one last time. We can't let him be homeless. He's family. I looked at Tyler. I looked at the rain dripping off his nose. Every instinct I had as a sister screamed at me to open the door, to get him a towel, to make him soup, to fix it. That's what I had done for 10 years. And look where it got us. I thought about the warehouse jobs I saw listed online. I thought about the men's shelter downtown. I thought about the shadow competence trap. If I opened this door, I would be saving him from the rain, but I would be killing the man he needed to become. I reached for the small table by the door. I picked up a piece of paper I had printed out days ago. Just in case. I slid the paper through the crack in the door. What is this? Tyler asked, his hands shaking as he took it. A list, I said. 3 temp agencies that are hiring for night shifts. And the address of the Union Gospel Mission. They have beds open until 3 o'clock in the morning. He stared at the paper, then back at me, his eyes wide with betrayal. Megan, you can't be serious. It's me. It's Ty. I know. I said, my voice trembling for the first time. And because I love you, I am not going to help you die slowly anymore. The only way you survive this is if you do it alone. Meg, please, he shouted, slamming his hand against the wood. Don't do this. I'm not doing it to you, Tyler, I said softly. I'm doing it for you. I started to close the door. Megan, he screamed. I shut it. I slid the deadbolt home. Click. It was the loudest sound I had ever heard. I slid down the back of the door until I hit the floor. I hugged my knees to my chest. I listened to him crying on the other side. I listened until the rain drowned him out. And then, finally, I listened to his footsteps walking away. Winter turned to spring, and the silence from my family slowly changed its texture. It wasn't angry anymore. It was just quiet. I heard rumors through a cousin. Tyler wasn't posting on Instagram. He wasn't trading crypto. He was working the graveyard shift at a massive fulfillment center 10 miles out of town. He walked to work. He had blisters. He was tired, but he was real. 6 months to the day after I closed that door, a plain white envelope appeared in my mailbox. Inside was a cashier's check for $1,350. Wrapped around it was a piece of notebook paper with handwriting I barely recognized, shaky but legible. It read, Installment 1, I'm sorry. I sat at my kitchen table. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the debt audit spreadsheet that had haunted me for half a year. I typed the number into the repayment column. The bright red total at the bottom dropped. Just a little, but it dropped. I closed the spreadsheet. I opened a new browser tab. I booked a flight to Rome, economy class, just for one. I lost a fake brother who pretended to be a king. But looking at that check, I think I'm finally meeting the real one. If you've ever had to love someone enough to let them hit rock bottom, share this story. Sometimes, no is the most loving word you can say.